Hello YouTubers and welcome to another episode of the vlogs. We've made it into the crew room after a session in the water in the pair with Angus all the way from New Zealand, absolutely fantastic. But we've got some extra large breaded egg toast because remember, food is fuel, and after a lovely paddle it is important to fuel up. Today, as you can tell from the title, we're talking about rowing with different people because, as I've spoken about before, we're doing testing soon. So it's good to get used to rowing with different people, and then we're going to talk about sort of the differences that occur or that happen or that do when you're rowing with different people. But first things first, we got to fuel up. Oh yeah! And we've made it into the gym post fueling up because remember, food is fuel and you have to fuel up after any session. But today we're talking about rowing in boats with different people and what that entails. And what's really interesting is as we're switching around, so I'm in bow seat for the first part of the testing, so that's the front of the boat for the people that don't know out there, or maybe the back depending on how you look at it. But in the bow seat, the job, or my job, is to make sure the stroke man feels as comfortable as possible and they can row the way they want to, and then I have to adjust to that and try and make the boat go as well as possible. So it's really interesting to have the different people and row with those different people. So it's really interesting to row with those. So it's really interesting to row with the many different people here at the club. Some have big ergos, some have not as big ergos, some are technically a little bit better, some are not as technically good. So for me, just sitting behind them, I really have to focus on making sure they are feeling really comfortable. So sometimes that might mean I'm really making sure I'm getting connected on the front and making sure the boat's going straight. Other times it's making sure I'm just placing a little bit more softly and then putting a bit more power down through the stroke so that I'm not turning the boat. And then there's a little bit of adjustments like that as well, just to make sure that the boat is running straight, and again making sure the stroke man is feeling as comfortable as possible. But now it's time to get back on the water to work on a bit more of that adjusting in the bow seat. So for me, I'm used to stroking a boat and just going at it as hard as I can, but unfortunately in the bow seat you can't quite do that because then things might not work that way. Following is extremely important, obviously, in the bow seat, as well as, again, making sure the stroke man or stroke person is feeling as comfortable as possible and doing what they want to do. When I get into the stroke seat, then it switches around, but that's for another time. I'll probably talk about that, how I really want to row a pair, even with different people, later on after this session. But now, let's get on the water. Hello! We're outside of the club once again with Edward. Yam is out exercising and is eating.
I think so.
We're going to assume he's eating his lunch. But today we're discussing
Rowing with other people.
Rowing with other people. And this morning I spoke about how it's very important to make sure if you're in the bow seat that your stroke man is comfortable. Ed, do you have any other tips for rowing with different people?
Well,
not necessarily in a pair.
Rowing with different people, as in jumping in and out of boats, whatever. A lot of the time you have to do that for seat racing, whether it's trials or for just
testing
or whatever. I'd say be patient is a good thing. It would be quite easy sometimes if you're in a boat with someone and it's maybe not going that well, if you've not rowed with them before, to be a bit like sharp and a bit short with people.
And rush, because you're like, I need to make it go fast. And
your mentality makes a massive difference. I think that for me that's a big one. And if you are in the bow seat compared to the stroke seat, me and Cam obviously have experience in that. Just trying as well as you can to follow what they're doing, not necessarily trying to change what they're doing to fit with what you would like to do, because it's easier for the person looking to copy rather than the person.
You only feel it.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, don't be looking for too much when you jump into a new boat as well. It'd be really easy to think that you're going to be just as good as you were with your pairs partner who you've rowed with for 6 months, but in reality it's not going to be that easy unless you do get the odd time where that does happen.
Yeah. And then embrace it if it does.
Yeah.
But also, like Ed's saying, so if you're doing the pairs matrix like we're going to be doing, you don't want to, so you might only get a session, you might be lucky to get a session with the pairs partner that you have, and so in that session you want to make as much out of it as possible. And so if you're focused on trying to make it really fast or focused on things that aren't going to make the boat go very well, then it'll be quite difficult to make that combination go quickly.
Yeah.
And also a tip for when you are switching around for testing, so we'll do bursts and we'll do little, especially when we're in the bow seat, those little changes for that pair partner that you're with. Try and almost, at the very least, make a mental note so that when you do pair with them for the testing, you're saying, okay, I'm with, say if Ed and I were rowing together, Ed likes to have the weight on one side. So you think, okay, I'm rowing with Ed, I'm going to get in the boat and do that straight away, rather than trying to figure it all out again and say, and if you can do that straight away, you can warm up better and then you end up testing better rather than spending the time before
relearning it,
redoing it, which can make quite a big difference when you are jumping in and out of boats. But sometimes, like with pairs testing specifically, it can be your biggest asset is rowing, how changeable and how moldable, how ductile,
malleable
you are. You are when you're getting in and out the boats, because it doesn't matter if your combination could be the fastest after maybe a few weeks together. If you're not faster than other people in an hour or so, then it's not gonna look great on those results. But that will be it for Ed and Cam chats. We're thinking about doing some other videos involving DIY, not rowing,
bodging.
But yes, we're really good at repairing stuff badly, like the Yaris. The Yaris goes very well. but things outside of rowing, just to make things a bit interesting and maybe get some smoke bombs and see what happens. But let me know in the comments below what you think of that. Yam's finished his lunch. There he is. Yam, what are you saying? Yam.
He doesn't
Hello?
want to, does he?
Yam, there he is. And we'll see you after a little bit more recovery. Oh yeah. And we've made it outside of the club for another day after a wonderful little bit of recovery. Going a little walk with Yam on this lovely early sunset as the winter draws closer and closer, but we do get the awesome colours on the trees behind me, always appreciating where we are. And as we progress through the week, we get to switch through some pair partners once again and putting in those tips that Ed spoke about, and I was saying just making sure, especially when I'm in bow or when you're in bow, just making sure that you are doing everything you can to make the stroke seat feel comfortable, but at the same time not trying to force things and working together as a team, because rowing is a rowing sport and it's making boats go fast more than anything else. But tomorrow we actually have some, not quite race pace, but some speedy pieces tomorrow. So I'm excited to do that after the tooth infection last week took me out of trials and took me out of doing a lot of the high intensity stuff. But as always, Jam Squad, hopefully you enjoyed the video, and remember to subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that like button, and I'll see you in tomorrow's episode.
Jam, you taking yourself a walk? Yeah.